Okay, everyone, we're now going to hand over to Kevin Elliott for a discussion on rolling your own novel, a guide to self publishing. Here we go. Thank you, Kevin. It's over to you.
Thing people can download and even pay for. So I'm going to draw heavily on my own experience, specifically what happened after I'd finished my novel Lightmaker. So let's have a look at going down the self-publishing road. You've got many advantages as a self-publisher. You can be sure your novel will appear in print. You won't be forced into accepting edits you don't like or a cover you hate. Uh, when one of your books sells, you can earn up to 70% of its price. With traditional publishing, that figure's closer to 10%. But you must do your own quality checking. You've got to run your own marketing. And there's more bad news. There's millions of self-published novels out there. Your job is to stand out from the crowd, and that job comes in two tasks. One, produce an excellent novel, do great work. And two, publicize it. Tell people you've done great work. So I'm going to cover both of those tasks. There's one bit of good news. Many self-published novels are absolutely appalling. So attention to quality and good publicity will help you stand out. So let's go on to producing an excellent novel. So what do I mean by excellent? I'm not going to talk here about character development, your use of ideas or narrative distance or your themes or the way you handle conflict or tension. I'm sure you've all produced or can produce great work. By excellent, I mean well edited, free from spelling mistakes or continuity errors. That's things where when a character sits on a chair, then immediately sits on the same chair again. People say you can't proofread your own work, and they're right. You need to think about hiring outside editors to provide feedback. There's places like Reedsy or Jericho Writers, book doctors who can look at your work. So let's have a look at what happens there. I'd written my novel. I had an idea it wasn't perfect, but I bought an initial round of feedback called development feedback from an organization called Jericho Writers. And it's one of the best investments I ever made. I was still learning the writing trade, and I still am. I always will be. But I realized I had a long way to go before producing anything publishable. Anyway, the development editor I got hold of read my book, and he said, "Well, there's some good moments, but it's a bit lacking. And one thing I was lacking was a really clearly defined baddie, an antagonist. So it sort of left my book without a backbone. If you think of anything you've enjoyed, there's usually a nasty character in there." The editor also said my sentences are often single clause sentences. I chained lots of these together, which made the book rather monotonous. There were some scenes involving complex movement which weren't as clear as they might be, and he questioned some of the science underpinning my novel. So I worked on each point he made. Yes, I did make a spreadsheet. A lot of work. I went around for a second round of development editing, managed to get the same editor, and things were a lot better. He said this is, with a bit of a polish, this is going to be good enough to attract attention of an agent. I'd already decided to go down the self-publishing path, but one thing he said is your grammar and use of punctuation isn't perfect. So I bought in a line editing service, second thing there, and for each, so this is a different editor. For each sentence, they considered my word choice. Did the sentence make sense? Should I switch things around or trim it? My manuscript came back covered in red ink, but this step was worth it. Having your own work pulled apart is a great teacher. I could have stopped there, but I actually hired a proofreader to find errors the line editor had missed. This wasn't just a grammar check. One of my characters has a big bushy beard. Early on in the novel, he runs his hands through it. That's fine. Later on, he wears a spacesuit with a helmet. That's fine. What wasn't fine is him running through his hands through his beard once he was wearing the spacesuit. I'd missed this. so would the line editor. So how many rounds of external editing you pay for is up to you. I erred on the side of caution since this is my first novel. For my next novel, I'll do less. It's sort of part of the growing up process. So hopefully you've then got a polished manuscript. Plots checked, you've squelched as many errors as you can. If you're self-publishing, you need to format it into the right area. You get the what's called the gutter, the bits that in between the pages and so on. That means you don't have to spread the book out to read everything. The margins are right, the indentations are correct, everything's consistent. The best package for that seems to be a thing called Vellum. That's Mac only. I use Jutoh, Jutoh. Pretty good, very cheap. So look for advice on formatting online. Look how traditionally published novels are laid out. Steal with pride. My next slide shows a list of all the corners you can cut while self-publishing. I've researched this list. I'm absolutely certain it's complete. Let's have a look. That's things you can ignore when you're self-publishing. Okay, so that's covered producing an excellent novel. Let's move on to publicising it. I said before, most self-published novels are dross, and that is good news. But it does mean you have to fire on all guns. You have to win on all fronts. Your package is no stronger than its weakest link. So I don't have time to talk about advertising here, but let's cover the foundations of the marketing campaign. The first one is to have your own platform, your area. You need your own website, and you need your own mailing list. The website helps you harvest email addresses, and later on you can email people with your mailing list. Go easy on the selling. Don't say buy my book now with every email. You should aim to build relationships with your readers. A friendship is more important than a sale. So I built my own website. Mine happens to be called Where's My Flipping Tea? It's at kevinelliott.space. I chose a memorable name, so if I talk to you, I can mention my website and you might remember. Or you might bring me some tea. It's a win either way. So readers can find you here. A bit of search engine optimization can help if you're into that. And if you're at a Meet Space convention, you can actually print out cards and have those sent out or given to people. I built my site with WordPress. There are other providers such as Squarespace and Wix. There's a small cost involved and you'll need to get your own domain name, but it's about £10 a month or so. So update the site regularly. Think about starting a blog. Do keep posting. I'm always looking out for interesting things to talk about, like Elon Musk's project. That's quite interesting, or philosophical ideas about my novels. Any ideas there, I put on my website, which needs updating, but that's always the case. So that's your website. How about your mailing list? To get a website, to get emails, you'll need to give them something. They might ask, why should I give you my email address? The answer is to give them something. Now, even though Lavecon has gone virtual, I still want to give you that gift. If you go to my blog, kevinelliott.space, and click the picture of the young girl, you'll reach a page like this. Now, I've used a mailing marketing provider called MailChimp to handle my emails. Don't try and do it try and do it manually. Automate everything. If you click on my link, you'll get to this page. You can enter your email and optionally your first name. Click on the Get My Free Stories short story collection. You'll get an email in your box. If you click on that, you'll see this. You've almost finished. One more step. Click on the link in the email we sent. You'll be a subscriber. So you get another email. This confirmation. This seems a bit complex, but I'll explain why I'm doing it like this in a bit. Then you're added. You might be asked to click a recaptcha box. As you're all human beings, I'm sure you'll be able to do that. And you'll be on my mailing list. You might see download your free short story collection here. This again is automated. I'm using a thing called Book funnel to handle that. If you click on that link there, you'll get to this page. This is run by an organisation called Book Funnel. I'm paying about £20 a year. If you click on that, you'll get instructions on how to load that onto your Kindle or e-reader, your iPad, whatever. And you'll see if I just flick back, I've kept these sign-up pages simple, nice green background to make them distinctive and stand out. And I'm just aiming to get people to do one job. In this slide here is just one button. Yes, subscribe me to this list. And it's important that you write it from the viewer's perspective. So you're putting words in their mouth. Yes, subscribe me to this list. They're giving me an order. Okay, that helps improve your chances of success, your subscription rates. So let's say you download this book successfully onto your Kindle or whatever. You read through it, and yeah, not bad. Okay, see what else you can write. You'll get to this page right at the end, and there's an advert for my novel Light Maker, information about my newsletter. This is a bit redundant, but requests for information here and where else they can contact me. So Twitter, Facebook, that sort of thing. So the idea is just to get people to sign up to my mailing list. People could actually buy this on Amazon straight off for 77p, which I have had happen. So this would get them onto hopefully get them onto my mailing list as well. There are several of these email marketing providers. MailChimp is one, Aweber is another, MadMimi, Infusionsoft, MailerLite. There's not an awful lot between them. You tend to pay for what you get. At the current time, MailChimp is free. You've got less than 2,000 subscribers, so it's a good way to get started. What is a good deal now might not be a good deal in the future, so keep in touch with those. Start off with something simple. So let's move on to do automating your list. Don't try and do it manually. You'll if you get over 10 or 20 subscribers, you'll go potty. Do automate things. Start simple and work up. The more advanced email providers will let you segment your audience, so you can send one email to your most dedicated readers and another to the foot soldiers. Plan ahead, but avoid any idea of future proofing. Just get the complexity in when it's needed and not earlier. Begin with the basics. And you really want to make unsubscribing as easy as possible. You just want to speak to people who are interested in you and your ideas. You will pay a little bit of money for each subscriber. It's not much, but you don't want people there if they're not interested. Make it as easy as possible for people to unsubscribe. Most email providers put a link in the newsletter. You can put that at the top. One thing I will say, one absolute, or two actually, never buy in lists. They're full of dead links and people who are interested in what you write, and you might get your email address being flagged up as a spam merchant. Never ever sell or let anyone else access your lists. You could get fined for misusing personal data. You can also let people know you'll never pass their data on. You saw the sign-up process was a bit complicated. This because I've used an option to double in. Basically, they sign up, they get an email saying, "Are you sure?" If they sign up to that, then they're in. That just gives you high-quality subscribers, and I think most of us are used to that sort of confirming their email. So once they've joined up, send them an email straight away, just welcome to the list, and say what it's about. Your email provider can do that automatically. You can send another one a few days later, just covering a few areas of your brand. So tell them about yourself, invite them to respond and set up a conversation. Answer their questions or comments, be a friend. You can let them know how your current work is going and any new writing resources you've found. You can ask for reviews, ask people to let you know of books they've read. And there's room for gently nudging readers into looking at your sales pages on Amazon or wherever once every 5 or 6 emails, but go easy. Other authors monitor their responses and build an advanced team that's people happy to read early versions of your releases and provide feedback. Now, this talk doesn't cover Facebook advertising, but I will mention that email lists email lists can be uploaded to Facebook. This will produce a lookalike list. Facebook won't email those people, but it will build a list of people with similar profiles to the people you've already harvested. You won't know who these people are, but you can advertise to them, and this is quite a powerful technique. Um, Sending out newsletters. You've got a list of topics here. If you email me after the talk, treaclecustard@gmail.com, I'll send you this list, but here's potential ideas you might have. So maybe what's the stories behind your characters? Why did you start writing? Why did you choose your gender, or did it choose you? That sort of thing. So ideas for newsletters here. You might want to send one out every 6 weeks or so. It's up to you. Just try and get some consistency in. Your email marketing provider should be able to give you rates. That's figures which show how many people are opening your emails, how many click the links to the newsletter, how many people are unsubscribing. Your open rates will largely depend on the subject line in your newsletter emails, the bit they see before they open anything. Including your name can help, as well as piquing someone's curiosity or giving them a benefit. Lists work well. So good subject lines might be something like 5 ways to make writing a habit, or it'll be gone by the 25th of December. Urgency always sells. Don't open this email, that's curiosity, or playing around with things like that. And if you've got a large enough mailing list and the right email provider, you can segment your emails, divide your list into 2 roughly equal halves, send each half a different header, see which works best. So testing works. And did I mention you shouldn't spam readers of buy now content? It's a gentle reminder, most people don't like spam. About social media, be careful. Social media can suck up all your free time. Try to avoid getting involved in arguments. You're better off writing your novel or its sequels. I use Twitter to hold any anecdotes I come up with. I can use this to show people I've got a decent sense of humour. Twitter can be useful in contacting other authors or influencers. Facebook you can use for advertising, and you can build an author profile on there. That's handy. Okay, building email lists of your books. Now, your published works have got a real role in helping you build your mailing list, getting more names on there. You can add a short invite to your mailing list at the start of your books. Don't include the actual link. Amazon can get funny about this, but refer to information at the back of your book. If you've seen any of Amazon's sales pages, you'll know you can look inside link just above the image of the book's front cover. This will show your book's first few pages, and many people will scan this before deciding whether or not to buy. This means you want to start the book's meat as soon as possible. Keep dedication pages, etc. to a minimum. That way your potential readers will see your glorious writing as soon as possible. Some people say you should try and put any table of contents, like chapter names, at the back of the book. Now, this does let prospective purchasers get to your words quickly. Amazon doesn't like this. It may, in the future, insist that the chapter names go at the start. So here's a look at the chapter names of Lightmaker. I did put the chapter names at the start, but I'm amazed at how many, even professionally published books out there, just have a list of numbers. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. It's just not very exciting. So I concocted a list of chapter names, which I thought would entice people. I'm hoping they'll look at a chapter and want to read further and answer a question. Oh, what do you mean by horse? Or why should they beware the breakfast? So your chapter titles have a role. So hang on. Yeah, bear with me. Says materials calling for reviews, acknowledgements, or copyright notices. The offer of a reader magnet in return for their email. Put those at the back. Reviews are more likely if they've just finished your novel. If you've more than one novel out there, You can list your books at the back as well. So generally, you'll want to link to the book selling page on whatever platform you chose. Amazon and Apple don't really talk to each other, so don't put Apple on Amazon or vice versa. And there's going on to book covers now. This is an essential part. It's what people will see of your book. So we're all guilty. We've all gone for one book rather than another, but thanks to the cover. Having a great cover is an essential part of being self-published. There's a lot to learn to writing, and there's a lot to learn in graphic design. Almost no one is going to be skilled in both areas. If you're a good writer, you'll probably need to hire a good artist for your book cover. I used Reedsy, Reedsy, and I got lucky. You can use Reedsy to ask selected artists to bid for your project and pick one you want to work with. I do recommend you don't try and do it yourself. This sort of thing can happen. So don't do this. And don't do this either. You really shouldn't do this. No idea what's happening there. And please don't do this. Do get a professional involved. I did, and this happened, which I didn't think was too bad. I'm quite happy with this. If you get someone else, things can work out decently. So cover design is a vast field. I can only scratch the surface. Here's a few points. The cover should imply your genre. You should know what it is by looking at it. Have a look at the covers used in your genre. I personally think mine stands out, but it also says science fiction and fantasy. Ask your friend's opinion, but don't let them dictate. You can usually chat to the designer if you need a few tweaks after it's arrived. Sort this out at the start. What's the policy on revisions? And always check the text on the cover. My designer was brilliant, but he misspelt my name. Elliot actually has 2 T's. So there's things like the book cover designer as well.com, bookcoverdesigner.com. They'll present lots of competent covers. You buy one, I think it's about £99. You can make a few tweaks. Once you pay for it, they retire that cover, so you end up with an okay cover. That's something to do with money's a bit tight. Blurbs. Dear God, blurbs. My novel's 110,000 words long. The blurb is about 150 words, and the blurb was by far the hardest thing I've ever had to write in my life. Should lure people in, make them at least want to read the first chapter of your book. So they're complex, but there's a few points we can make here. I won't cover them all here, but do signal the genre, do keep them short, don't summarize the plot, go for emotion, look at where there's peril, try and end it on a cliffhanger, and look at successful books in your genre. What are their blurbs? What's working? So after the blurb, you can shift into selling. So there's 2 sentences can help. You can talk about title, series, genre. So Doubtless Perils, the 3rd book in Peter Smide's paranormal detective thriller series. This would come after your blurb. And there's also a link to other novelists you like who think that if they like X, they'll like Y. So say that here. These are all fictional, never mind. And then finally, ask for the sale. The call to action. Investigate Dancer's peril to start this ghost-filled thriller ride. Keep everything simple. Show your descriptions to others. Squelch any errors. And make sure formatting is correct before you do much advertising. Amazon can take a few days to publish your book and its description. Make sure your book site is up and running before you start the advertising off. Just a few more things to cover, nearly finished. Amazon is one of the largest search engines in the world, and people using it are typically in a buying mood. So you can help people searching Amazon find your book. There's keywords. Now, they're not critical, but they are important. When you publish your book, you'll be given a space for the title, subtitle, your name, and these keywords. These are, you should fill them with words your readers might choose. You can fill up those boxes. I've gone through my novel and thought, what might people look for? They might look for orphans or teenage girls or stuff about gravity. That's all there. They don't sweat too much over this. They don't have a vast effect, but they do a bit. Categories are more important. There's a lot to them, but there's a set of automatic tools which can put your book's cover in front of people. They'll only Amazon will only do this if they think your book will satisfy the readers. Amazon always about the relevance. They measure reader satisfaction through a list of charts. Here's an example of one. It starts with non-fiction, then it subdivides into crafts, hobbies, and home, and then to crafts and hobbies, and then to glass and glassware. Now, there's the top level stuff. There's things like romance, mystery, science fiction, literature, biographies. The top level stuff is really hard to fill. If I look at science fiction and fantasy, the big publishers are there with their budgets. They normally come up very well in those charts. Amazon will publicize those. The rich get richer. So it's hard to do that. But Amazon also builds charts for the lower levels, like hard science fiction or exploration science fiction. And those ranks are easier to get to. So you're allowed to state 2 categories at the start. My advice is to go down those categories right to the bottom. Go as far down the sub levels as you can. Getting top in hard science fiction will help you, and it's easier to do that than to do it in science fiction. You can have 2 at the start. You can email Amazon later, and I'm told you can get more categories. Amazon also does some work in getting you in there. Try and put your books in as many categories as possible, but keep each category relevant. Don't try and fool people thinking your Starship Troopers-esque novel is a romance. You can roll shape the dice a little in your favour. Okay, so we covered that. Pricing, covered the prices there. Have a look around at other science fiction books and see how they're priced. Don't undervalue yourself. You've put a lot into your book and you're not inferior to any traditionally published novels. Got the basics there. So minimum 77 pence. Below 177 you get 35%. Above a tenner you get 35%. Between that there's a bit of a sweet spot. 70% there. That's insanely high compared to traditional publishers. You can, I'm told, put up a book free by getting it free on another site like Barnes & Noble or Apple and getting Amazon to price match. I've tried this, it worked for a time, then Amazon shunted my Reader Magnet's price up again, so I'm not sure what's happening there. But ultimately, you need to choose whether you want to be visible or to maximize profits. I'm a newbie author with only 1 book and just a few stories, so I'm going for visibility. My prices are low. I'm looking to be seen rather than make money. I'm working on the sequel. Hopefully that will help me push things ahead. On Amazon, you've actually got an author page. It's a space for you to set up something about yourself. Home base for you. It links to all of your books. You can have a link to your blog, your Twitter feed, videos, biographies. Establish a brand. I've got my picture on there. You need to set one up for each Amazon domain, co.uk, com, whatever. You've also got a book page on Amazon itself. This is mine. Gives you I actually set up a physical book here, paperback, £12.95. This is a swine to set up. I got there in the end. My book cover designer knew what he was doing and provided me with a template. I got there in the end. You can set the physical books price separately. The minimum price will be higher, maybe £9 or £10. That's what it costs, or Amazon says it costs them to produce. You can have a profit on top of that. There's one advantage of selling a paperback in your book page. It makes your Kindle version look like a bargain. So just be certain of one thing. Change is inevitable. Keep reading up on the subject. There's a number of books out there on self-publishing, as well as blogs and articles on the web. There's a lot more in this area: Amazon, Facebook, BookBub adverts, Kindle Unlimited, whether to go exclusive at Amazon or mix it up with other providers. I'll cover these in later sessions, but I need to write those first. So I hope you've enjoyed this session, and hopefully the one yesterday. I'll try and answer your questions, but if you have something complex, do feel free to email me treaclecustard@gmail.com, and I will stop sharing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin. That was brilliant. Right, let's clear you off the screen there and have a look and see what's come. Oh, crikey, what have I done? I've closed in all my windows. I can't see anything. It's all right. So thank you, Kevin. That was great. We are on a short little break then, and we'll be back at 12 for mental health. And you, oh, in fact, wait a second. Kevin, is there any questions that you've had in? I saw somebody asking what a blurb was, but I think... I don't know if there's a better description than it's sort of short piece of information describing your book, but I think you showed actually that it's a bit more than that.
I'm struggling to hear you at the moment, Grant.
Oh, hold on.
Your mix cutting in and out.
Ah, right, okay, hold on. I know exactly what that is. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, it's much better. Yes.
Yep. Sorry, I forgot to ask if there was any questions that had been asked there, but the only question we'd noticed and we tried to answer was about what a blurb was, and we were saying it's a sort of short description of a book, but I think that's possibly a bit... You've shown that it can be a little bit more than that.
It's usually found on the back of a published book. I conveniently have one here. That's the blurb. I don't know if you can, probably can't see that, but it's the stuff on the back of a published book. You're meant to be able to read it very quickly, and it'll suggest whether you should. It's meant to lure you in. So, yes, this is the book I want to read, and you buy it and read it. So it's an advert, basically.
Fantastic. I'm looking to see if there's any other questions from the chat before we let Kevin get on with his weekend. What's left of it, and enjoy the rest of Lavecon. Where can they buy your books? I think that would be as Amazon, but go on, Kevin. It's a good point for you to give them a nice sort of rundown on where they can get your book. I actually happen to have a copy, and I am working my way through it.
That's good. Bear with me. I should have had this link sorted out, but I will sort it out right now. And that's the link to my book there. I would love it if you buy and read, and I'd love it if you could give me a review. Amazon's engine does like reviews.
There we go. I've just put that out there to the social medias and the live stream, so that if you want to have a check out the book, I have. I can't remember how I had a lot of books on the go, and actually I disconnected from reading for a number of years for various reasons, and the lockdown has really given me a significant chance to get back into it, to the fact that last year I read 78 books, whereas that's more books than I've read in the last sort of 8 years, and I have absolutely really thoroughly enjoyed it. And so I've gone through, of course, the likes of Alan White releases a book, James Vigor's book. I've had a good read at that, and I am getting my way through it, and I always like to wait until I get to the end, because people that write these books, you have a tendency to lure you down a nice narrative where you feel all cozy and you think everything's great, and then you twist it up and send everybody into either bittersweet endings or whatever it ends up. So I always I will give you a review once I have completed it, but so far I am finding it really enjoyable.
Good.
So yeah, I can recommend that. Now, there was a question: can Kevin give any hints on going from ebooks to audio, as in when it's worth to do that?
Yeah, I haven't gone down that path myself. I don't know much. You can pay to have a highly competent voice actor read your book. It can cost a fair bit, but it's also I'm told it's quite profitable. I'm not doing that at the moment. I'm looking at building up my advertising skills. But yeah, audiobooks are definitely future. I think with people commuting and everything, and a lot of people just like listening to audiobooks. Can't help you at the moment, but it's a massive field.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that the Kindle setup has done very well, is the ability on multiple devices like me. So if I'm walking, I can listen to the audiobook version, and then when I come home, it synchronizes my reading to where I left off in the audiobook and vice versa. So yeah, okay, thank you very much. Any other, we've just got a statement which says that no questions, but thank you for all of your great advice. There we go, that's from Samuth there. Oh, and I'll get your other links out as well so that people can get those. There we go. All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Right, we'll go back to the programme, and we should be back in just under half an hour with our next segment. Thank you